After Jesus has been scourged and has received the crown of thorns, the Jews are still not satisfied. In the Gospels, we get an interaction, particularly in St. John's Gospel, interaction between Pilate and Jesus. And it's really interesting to see that even more expanded in Maria Valtorta's vision. So I'm going to pick up the narrative from after Jesus has been shown to the crowd, and Pontius Pilate has said, as is famously written, Ecce homo, behold the man. So, to continue the narrative, he, Jesus, is taken back to the hall. And Pilate says to the Jews who are assembled, "So, let him go. It is justice." They respond, "No. Death to him. Crucify him." Pontius Pilate replies, "I will give you Barabbas." "No. The Christ." "In that case, take him yourselves and crucify him by yourselves, because I find no fault in him to do that." He says, the crowd responds, that he is the Son of God. Our law inflicts death on whoever is guilty of such blasphemy. Pilate becomes pensive. He goes back in and sits on his little throne. He rests his forehead in his hand and his elbow on his knee and scrutinizes Jesus. "Come near me," he says. Jesus goes to the foot of the platform. "Is it true? Tell me." Jesus is silent. "Where do you come from? Who is God?" Jesus responds, "He is the all." Pilate now says, "And then, what does the all mean? What is the all for one who is dying?" "You are mad. God does not exist. I do." Jesus is silent. He has let the great word drop, and then he envelops himself in silence. Pontius, Claudia Procula's freedwoman asks permission to come in. She has a note for you. Just to interrupt the narrative there, Claudia Procula is in tradition, in Catholic tradition, and in Maria Valtorta's visions, the wife of Pontius Pilate. Very important, very powerful woman. The name Claudia should be the clue that the family produce emperors, like the Emperor Claudius. And so she, one might say in a sense, has more power than Pontius Pilate. So he's done very well for himself by marrying that woman. So just to continue the narrative, the soldiers told Pilate that his wife's freedwoman has come to bring a note for him. And Pilate replies, "Domine, women, even now, let her come in." A Roman woman comes in and kneels down, handing him a waxed tablet. It must be the one with which Procula begs her husband not to condemn Jesus. The woman withdraws backwards while Pilate reads. "I'm advised to avoid your being put to death. Is it true that you are more than a haruspex? You frighten me." Jesus is silent. Pilate continues, "Do you not know that I have the power to free you or to crucify you?" Now Jesus responds, You would have no power if it were not given to you from above. Therefore he who handed me over to you is more guilty than you are. Who is it? Your God? I fear. Jesus is silent. Pilate is on tenterhooks. He would like and he would not like to. He's afraid of God's punishment. He's afraid of Rome. He fears Judean revenge. For a moment, he overcomes the fear of God. He goes to the front of the hall, and in a thundering voice he shouts, "He is not guilty." The response is, "If you say so, you are no friend of Caesar's," say the Jews. He who proclaims himself king is his enemy. You want to free the Nazarene? We will inform Caesar of that. Pilate is seized with the fear of man. So you want him dead? Let it be so. But the blood for this just man is not to stain my hands. And having a basin brought to him, he washes his hands in the presence of the people, who appear to be seized with frenzy while they shout, "His blood on us, his blood be on us and on our children. We are not afraid of him. Crucify him, crucify him." Pontius Pilate goes back to his little throne and calls the centurion Longinus and a slave. I'll interrupt there once again. Longinus again is famous in Catholic tradition as the one who thrust his spear into Jesus' side on the cross. And indeed, that is who he is in Maria Valtorta's narrative. There's something more that she speaks of about him subsequent to that event, but I shan't go into that now. So back to the narrative. Pilate has called Longinus and a slave. He orders the slave to bring him a board on which he places a notice, and he has the words written on it, "Jesus Nazarene, King of the Jews." And he shows it to the people. No, not so, not King of the Jews, but that he said that he is King of the Jews. Many of them so shout. "What I've written, says Pilate severely. And standing upright, he stretches his hand forward with its palm turned down and orders, "Let him go to the cross. Soldier, go, prepare the cross." And he descends from his throne without even looking towards the uproarious crowd or at the one condemned man. He leaves the hall. Jesus is left in the middle of it, guarded by the soldiers, awaiting the cross.